Hello. Hmm. Hi. Is anybody there? If you guys are joined, please message me right in the chat so that I can just start chatting. And if you have any questions, you can just ask me those questions so that we can wait till a lot more people join or few more people join. I'm trying to message people. Hello. Blessed and highly favored. Hi. How are you guys doing? Where are you guys? So just write in the chat if you can. I'd like to know where you're logging in from. Hello, Ragini. This is my first live session, so I'm a little nervous. Oh, hi from Oregon. Nice. If you have any questions for me, you can write that down so that I can start off with some kind of a topic. Because right now I don't know what to speak. Thank you, Vikas. Hi from Delhi. Nice. Hi, Sanitra. Oh, thank you so much. Subtle diet. And now I did not wear my specs. I should have because I need specs to read. So I'm going to call for that. Um, Let me WhatsApp somebody in the house. Um, oh, thank you so much, Subtle Diet. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your love, you guys. It's because of those of you who watch me that it keeps me going, because you've seen that my channel isn't growing as much as it was at one point. So sometimes it's very demotivating, and I have frankly considered not doing this anymore because you know nobody's watching. You kind of feel that nobody's watching. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We knew, and this is my husband's specs, so even after that I'm like, okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you. So should I just start off talking about where I stand with my diet and everything, because people have been asking me. Oh, hello from Tasmania. Oh, that's great. I know that you guys eat similar food, or you eat, spicy food. So that's a match. Yes, really simple Indian version recipes. Thank you so much. Tried your keto candy. It was yummy. Oh my God, thank you. Because my keto candy is, I mean, I shouldn't be saying it myself, but it is amazing. I personally love it. And unfortunately, it got such low views. So if you guys know, in YouTube analytics, it'll show you this range where your video lies. And this one was like so much, it just went below the range. And sometimes it just shocks me because it's not just the effort, but there are certain recipes that you completely believe in and they're amazing and they're healthy and they are good in every way, but they just don't reach the people you want to reach. So I was so worried that nobody saw my candy recipe, and it's really good. So those of you who haven't seen it, watch the recipe and try it out. Okay, great. Hello, Bollywood Masti. Please come up with keto salad week. Okay, that's a great idea. I hope I remember that. Found your channel through sauerkraut recipe. Okay, yeah. Oh, thank you. Because sometimes my husband says it's very, what do you call it? It's very canned. It's not very natural, or it's sing song kind of thing. So, my family advises me that you need to become a little more natural. But when you have a camera in front of you, it's not that easy to be natural. So, anyway, okay. So let me start off with where I am on keto. So I started the channel about 5 years ago, and at that time I was on strict keto for about like 6 months or so. And I don't want to bore you guys, but I'll just go quickly on this. I've been a diabetic for close to 30 years, and there was a point where doctors thought that I was going to need insulin because the medicines weren't working for me as well as they should. And that's when I decided that I'm not going to start insulin without giving it a last try. And I always knew that, doing, diet and exercise was the best way to control it. So I wanted to give it my best shot, and keto seemed extreme enough. I mean, it was like, if this doesn't do it, then what will? So I started off on keto, and I saw my sugar levels coming down, and I was feeling great. I lost a lot of weight and all of that. And then, I took a couple of breaks traveling, and we are foodies, my husband and I, and we like to try all kinds of different cuisines. So when you travel, I mean, I tried my level best to not eat carbs at all. But then towards the end of each trip, I would give up. And then going back was very challenging as you go forward, right? So like after many trips, going back completely to keto started becoming more and more challenging. And unfortunately, there's one more thing that I observed, and I have always avoided sharing that because I don't want to kind of spoil other people's expectation from the diet. So there's nothing wrong with the diet, it's a very personal experience. And also, I've seen that every body is different. So the reaction that my body may give to a certain thing, others may not. And do I have to read the chat? I am so confused how to do this. Yes, really simple Indian version, thank you so much. And I'm going to read all of these comments later, definitely. Found your channel through, okay, great, great. My son is type 1 kid, tried most of your recipes, and this candy is a hit. Oh, thank you so much. Because actually, a friend of mine was after my life, that he's like, try to make a candy. And I was like, this is just not possible. That's one thing not possible on keto, because it needs that sugary texture, that stickiness that sugar can bring. And I was always like, that's not possible. And then that's when I found that fiber. And I mean, actually, I found the fiber quite a while ago, but I kept trying that probiotic fiber for a while. And then suddenly, out of somewhere or nowhere, I realized that I should try making a candy. And I really want you guys to go check it out. I know I should do Instagram live, that's a good idea. Believe it or not, I was so scared to go live because I was thinking there's nobody who's going to log in. So I was all day, I was nervous, thinking that it's going to be so embarrassing. I'm going to go live, and I don't even have an agenda in my, I mean, I have an agenda, I'm going to tell you guys. But I was thinking, what am I going to speak if nobody asks me any questions? My husband is a fund manager, and I don't know if he's comfortable with me sharing his name. Um, Let me do that in the next video. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. All right. So, oh, okay, the chat disappears. So, okay, I'll try to read quickly. Yes, I will do a Q&A, and probably you guys can send me the questions beforehand. Now, today what happened is I set up the session and I just couldn't make that session live, which was again nerve-wracking. So I just started a new one and I told you guys to come there. And thanks for reading that. Either read them on live or record this live screen recording. Okay, this has to be done next time because I am not prepared with that. New to keto question: how to sustain in long term in an Indian kitchen. So it is a challenge. So basically, the thing is that with Indian food, it is spicy, and the spices need some kind of a bland carbohydrate or something that is not as strong to go along with that, and that becomes a challenge on Indian cuisine. But what I do is I have shared quite a few keto roti recipes. If you've checked them out, and the the coconut flour one was my favorite for the longest time. I still make that sometimes, but you of course you get bored and your palate gets tired. So I have sort of shared another recipe which is a chestnut flour recipe. So check those recipes out, and you can keep switching between these recipes, and you can make the almond flour one also. And almond flour is one of the tastiest one, but it's a little challenging to make. The easiest is coconut flour. So if you follow the instructions and if you have the right ingredients, it's going to work out for you. And it is a very like a bland uh, roti, so it or a flatbread or whatever, and it goes really well with Indian food. So a lot of people have tried it. It's a popular recipe, and if you have this kind of a carb to go with your Indian food, you will not miss rotis. Rice is a challenge. Of course, you can eat cauliflower rice, and if you're eating spicy food, definitely cauliflower rice. The flavor of cauliflower rice kind of gets masked by Indian food. No, my husband's name is not Vivek. Um, Hi Sonal, me long time type 2 with high carb tolerance, intolerance, just like me. Okay. Any tips on improving insulin love from dialysis? Okay, so yeah, let me just continue with my story, because so eventually what happened is, even while following, of course I was going off keto and I used to come back, but every time I came back, I noticed that even on keto, my fasting sugars were not going below 170. Okay, and I was taking some basic medicines to kind of control it, but I was expecting that if I'm on like strict keto, then I should see better sugar levels, because you're taking the pains of being so strict. And then if you have to take medicines, it's not a great thing. So if I took medicines, it was working out, but I wasn't ever getting it below like 130 or so. And then eventually again I started looking around, and for other approaches. So what I am extremely influenced by Dr. Gundry, and I follow his protocol a lot. So I don't eat too much carbs, but to keep that balance, I do eat sometimes. So I eat a few carbs from time to time. I sometimes eat basmati rice, like he says. So I soak it overnight, I pressure cook it, and I leave it in the refrigerator overnight or for 24 hours. And that actually increases the quantity of resistant starch in it. And it doesn't spike my sugar as much. And then I do take some medicines, and this is kind of like a more balanced diet for me. um, Most, and then of course I do intermittent fasting. So what that does is it completely cuts down on one meal, and intermittent fasting has been shown to have great results. So if you're not doing anything else, this is something you need to start. And before I forget, I want to tell you guys that I'm designing a course about all this information that I've gathered in the past 30 years. So I have tried it all. There was a point when I was managing my blood sugars with purely diet and exercise, but at the time I was like 28, in my 30s, early 30s, and it was easier. But this kind of progresses. So I started needing medicines, and then I started doing the South Beach diet, which was also a low carb diet. At the time it was very popular. And eventually everything kind of started failing, because the disease was progressing probably. And so today I have tried so many approaches that I can advise most people depending on where they are in this journey. So I'm designing a course where I'm going to talk about all of these biohacks: intermittent fasting, low carb, keto. Do you need to do keto all your life? Because I have done so much research on these. And like I said, I've also read the latest book by Dr. Gundry, and I suggest that to everybody, that you should read that book. It's a wonderful book. It talks about, I think, Keto Code. The name is the Keto Code. It's his latest book, where he talks about getting the benefits of keto without doing a strict high fat keto. So also high fat wasn't somehow working for me. Like I mean, of course, I eat higher fat than regular people, but not to the extent where keto diet advises you. So that's the reason, taking some advice from him and also following keto to a great extent is working for me right now. My sugars are much better, of course, other than when I go out and I cheat, and which is often, I'm embarrassed to say, but that's life and that's how humans are, and that's the reason you are here. I mean, the people who are not like that don't need any of this that I'm speaking. They are just managing everything very well. So I'm just going to go through the comments quickly. Uh, okay. Do you have any trips planned? That's my son. Okay, he's trying to bully me. We have a few trips planned, but we are not able to manage because we've just been very busy. Vivek is after information about my husband. He has his own fund. So, okay, I actually went up. So those were done. Will you keep this? I think I will keep this session on my channel. Um, Yes, how do you manage to make different dishes for you and your family? And it is challenging. It is challenging, but fortunately, that's my passion. So, food and cooking was my first passion, and then nutrition became my passion because of my health. And actually, nutrition is also one of my main passions, and I just love talking about it and sharing information and advising people. And people tell me to sort of start counseling them, but I so far wasn't comfortable, like taking money and giving counseling sessions. So again, coming back to the course, so I'm designing a course, guys, and I want you guys to check it out. If you go to the link that I'm going to share below and use my code, which is Sonal Live, for the next 24 hours, you're going to get a 20% discount on it. It is dirt cheap. It is 1100 and you're getting 20% off on that. And this is 8 sessions, and like I said, I'm going to talk about everything. I'm talking about carbs, good and bad carbs. I'm talking about fats, what kind of fats, MCT oil, does it have any value, can you eat any carbs other than through vegetables and healthy vegetables. I'm going to talk about eating yams and also resistant starch. Like I said, like basmati rice has resistant starch, which is excellent. If you have to eat rice, then you want to cook it the way I said. I already spoke about it. So I'm going to talk about that, and there is a lot planned. So all that information is on the website. If you click that link, you'll get all that information, and please register. And there is a discount. So yes, Karen, I am going to talk more about intermittent fasting. I'm going to talk on my course, as well as if you have any specific questions, I'm definitely ready to talk about that. Intermittent fasting. I've been a diabetic since I was about on. I was in my first year engineering. I was doing my engineering at the time, and that's when I was diagnosed because I went to a dietitian to get tips, and they told me to do a blood test, and that's when I found out that I was a diabetic. But 2 years prior to that, also I had got tested, and at the time the doctor said this is probably wrong because I was a freak case. I was a type 2 diabetic at the age of 17, and the doctor thought that's not possible, so they said it's like something is wrong with it, get yourself tested again, and I just did not do it. And then 2 years later, when I tested myself, I found out that I was a diabetic, and that was a very young age. I at the time, actually, frankly, we didn't even know how to manage it. There was no information about carb counting or anything, so all I was told is don't eat rice and potatoes. And I used to follow that, and I wasn't able to control my sugars even with medicine. After doing intermittent fasting and restricting carbs, my LDL increased and HDL decreased. How do I correct the count, and is it a matter of concern? So lately, again, I'm going to try to remember this, but I want to link a video where Dr. Gandhi talks to another doctor, and unfortunately, my memory is not that good, so I don't remember the name. But they are talking about how LDL, HDL, and all of these things are not a good indicator of heart disease. So we are basically measuring all of this to make sure that we don't get heart disease. And they're saying that it's not directly connected, and they have talked about some other tests, which I myself want to get them done. I'm going to try to link that video, and I really need to myself watch those videos. And and then some people do have a tendency to have a low HDL and a high LDL, and they say that the whole LDL count does not mean a bad LDL. So part of the LDL is also a good LDL. So you would not know from these basic tests, is one thing that I know. The other thing is, I am really shocked. I have heard that eating good fats like ghee, olive oil, these things will increase your HDL. You can try doing that. Um, but I would think